You wanna watch this video? Apparently, Mr. Beast got cancelled for violating human rights or some shit. Okay, let's watch it. I'm gonna put it on 1.5 so that we don't have to like watch every single fucking second.
Never thought I was actually going to say this, but it turns out Mr. Beast, aka Jimmy Donaldson, is a war criminal. He has so casually
a war criminal. That's crazy. Okay.
Inflicted psychological.
I'm not. What the fuck? Yeah, I don't know, bro. He said the war criminal.
Torture on an ex-employee that he literally breaks down crying while trying to recount details. Forget about Ava Chris Tyson. This is not even related anymore. This is about Jimmy as a person and how terrible he is. Because Ava truly was the tip of the iceberg. One of the highest ranking members of Mr. Beast YouTube LLC.
You know what happened with his this Chris, Ava Chris, whatever his name was, situation, right? Where he got cancelled for talking to minors.
For a long time was a known criminal on the sex offender registry. His criminal record states that the person he did these things to was extremely young. We're talking under 13 years old, and he was only fired recently with allegations that Mr. Beast YouTube LLC is trying to clear his name from public record. Because of course, they don't want this to bite them in the ass. Things are getting extremely serious. Let's talk about it. After uploading the first video, which was I Work for Mr. Beast, He's a Fraud, the much anticipated sequel has finally come out, titled I Work for Mr. Beast, He's a Sociopath. In it, we see Jake Weddle being interviewed, a stand-up comedian who used to work at Mr. Beast YouTube LLC during 2019 and 2020 as a writer and someone who appeared in the video sometimes. Like in this video, destroying my friend's car and surprising him with a new one. As you can see, he's right here, and he was one of the people who got his car destroyed, and it was meant to be a surprise. Like, oh, they're about to come out, they're gonna see this huge rock on the car, they're gonna think it's a meteor. He knew about it, by the way. This is when things would start to go from real videos to more staged and fake.
I mean, I don't think you have to tell your friend that you're going to like destroy their car, right? I think this like whole dilemma of his videos are fake just because he told his friend he would destroy his car. Come on, bro.
Videos. According to him, of course. Now, what happens next is that he notices that he's barely making any money compared to how much the videos are generating. And he talks about the political nature of Mr. Beast YouTube LLC, how if you were on Jimmy's good side and you praised him and you stroked his ego, you'd appear in videos more and he would give you random bonuses. But when you're on the bad side, and Jake Weddle was on the bad side, you would get nothing. He would be in videos all the time, but he would then get edited out of the videos most of the time. He tells this to another writer that he really likes on the team, like, hey, you know, maybe we could negotiate a little bit, we can let them know about how we feel, etc., etc. The other writer was reluctant, but Jake convinced him. They both go and try to negotiate or at least argue their case, and they immediately just are told, well, cool. The next day they show up, they're fired. Of course, Jake breaks down crying here because he didn't want the other writer to lose his job because he loved his job. But that was the nature of the workplace known as Mr. Beast YouTube LLC. He'd start working there in 2019 and was fired in 2020. He was actually very happy to be fired. He mentions how different Jimmy was off camera, how he had only one thing on his mind, to be the biggest YouTuber, and has no sense.
I mean, he has a goal, right? His goal is to be the most, like the biggest YouTuber ever, so what are we talking about here?
Of any human empathy. When he would be giving people life-changing amounts of money, he'd be hoping that they cry, being like, yes, please cry. It'll be so good if you cry. It'll be so good for the video. Almost like nothing he was doing was real. Jake moves on from this, and by 2021, he had moved to New York to work on his stand-up comedy career. He gets a phone call from his ex-employer, Mr. Beast YouTube LLC, in which he's pitched an idea for a video he'd be starring in. According to him, the pitch made it seem like it was going to be paradise. It was going to be very simple. You're just going to sit in this room, chilling, on vacation. You have an ice cream machine. You have a bed all to yourself, a bathroom, everything you need, really. All you have to do is survive in this room for 100 days, and even better, every single day you sit there, you get $10,000. Only the last 5
You have astigmatism. I have a similar thing, but not astigmatism.
days are gonna be hard, you know, you're gonna be tortured a little bit, but otherwise, easy. And to Jake, this meant two life-changing things. First off, he was gonna be fully starring in a video, right? He's usually always edited out, and the editors told him it's because of his strong personality. So that's awesome. He gets to actually flex his comedic bones. And second, $10,000 a day. He comes from a very rough background. So this is a very life-changing amount of money. He said yes and went back to North Carolina immediately. Now, what many people don't know is that this video wasn't released, and it was a testing ground for the video that did release starring Jimmy, called I Survived 50 Hours in a Maximum Security Prison. Actually, what's even more interesting and wasn't mentioned as far as I recall in the video from DocPack was that the same set, the same exact room where they put Jake, was used in the video $10,000 every day you survive prison. Jake has given us pictures, and as you can see, it's the same exact set. And here's Jake himself. Jake says that while it may look cute on video, the facility had a lot of problems. The hot tub had no filtration system.
Sorry, I'm trying to find your messages on my phone, but they wouldn't load up. Okay, they load up now. It puts your lights on crack. Yeah, I know what astigmatism is. I have a similar thing.
3 days. The ice cream machine's dairy was very strong, so it would also be very smelly. This room had a septic tank. That was its plumbing system, so that also was smelly. Overall, it wasn't a very nice room to be in. And he had just agreed to a challenge of staying here for 100 days in solitary with no human contact. He didn't even last more than...
I mean, all Mr. Beast videos are like this, so like, what was he expecting? Like, all like Mr. Beast content is you go to a room and you have to spend like 100 days there.
10 days. You have to understand, Jake is genuinely a victim. This isn't some sob story. He would literally start trembling and crying whenever he would recount what happened in that room. He was cut off from human contact, but the worst part was that they would not turn off the fluorescent lights. And he had no source of sunlight, no windows. He could not sleep. He still suffers of insomnia today. And the symptoms started during this challenge. Imagine being in a room, right? A smelly ass, small, stupid room, and you have no sense of time passing. You have no idea how long it's been.
I don't think this is valid, because most of his videos are like this. Sure, like the whole smelling thing and how the whole room smelled bad, yes, that's a problem, and they should have fixed that. That's true. But the whole challenge is that you go to a room for 100 days and you don't talk to humans, you don't see sunlight, you don't know what time it is. That's the whole, like the whole fucking thing. That's it. That's the whole thing.
The sunlight, the moon, nothing, zero. This is what solitary is. It's meant to be torture. He wouldn't be able to fall asleep, and he was expected to do daily challenges almost. Because guess what? The cameras were rolling 24/7. He had to be entertaining. He had to make jokes. He had to look at the camera and say things. You'd know what I'm talking about if you watched the Mr. Beast video before. He of course.
But to be fair, on the latest Mr. Beast video, they did the exact same thing that this guy's talking about, but they put two people there. So realistically, they had some human like interaction, so it was a bit better, I guess.
Complained about this, right? It's hard not to complain when you can't sleep. It's one of the worst things on the planet, and staff wouldn't budge. He'd get visited by editors sometimes, and they joke around saying, "Wow, man, you know, everything okay? This footage looks horrid. It seems like you're going through a really rough time." Yeah, no shit. The guy can't sleep. He was able to briefly speak to one of his friends on set, telling him about the fact that they can't turn off the lights, and his friend openly said, "Well, buddy, that's a war crime. You can't even do this to terrorists. That's sleep deprivation."
Yes,
and the worst part
exactly.
is, he's right.
Mr.
So at this point,
Racist,
Jake's already
exactly,
thinking,
bro.
you know what, screw the money. I
don't know.
cannot do this for 30 days, let alone for 10. I need to get out immediately. Then Jimmy shows up, asks, "Hey, why is he sleeping?" And staff says, "Oh yeah, he's having a hard time sleeping." And Jimmy says, "Well, wake him up." He pulls two briefcases and says, "Hey, we have two challenges today. You want to find out what they are?" And Jake at this point is sleep deprived. He's like, "Oh, hey, what are the challenges?" Jimmy says, "Well, the first one is a Rubik's Cube." Jake says, "There's no way I can do this. I'm dyslexic. It's going to be very embarrassing. I can't do it."
I'm dyslexic and I can't fucking do a Rubik's Cube. Yeah, that makes sense, bro.
Jimmy cuts the persona completely and looks at him and says, "Come on, just do it. You know, for the challenge, for the video, come on." Jake manages to avoid it, but then the second challenge was running a marathon on a treadmill. And by that point, Jake knew he couldn't just say no. He was going to be forced to do it, so he did it. No practice beforehand, by the way, no preparation.
Damn.
He had just woken up and he is sleep deprived. And according to him, he ended up running from 12 to 3 a.m. I don't know whether it was 12 p.m. or 12 a.m., but regardless, 3 or 9 hours, regardless, right? You're making someone sleep deprived and solitary run for 3 hours. 9 hours is a war crime for sure. He was allowed to take breaks, but by the end of it, his feet had massive blisters.
Yeah, of
I don't even
course.
want to know what they actually look like, but it was probably horrifying. They got the on-site psychologist to go talk to him, and the psychologist was like, "Yeah, dude, it's over. He can't do no more." All of a sudden, everyone was concerned. And he laughs about this. He says, "Well, guess what? That night, they decided to turn off the lights. The next day, all the staff is there to comfort him, all his friends. You know, he does specify that a lot of them were talking, voicing the fact that this isn't fair. This shouldn't even be happening, that they're treating him very badly. But of course, you know, they weren't the
Damn.
decision makers." Jimmy apparently sat there in front of him like an evil villain and said, like, some of the most cold things. Like, "Hey, you know, it was horrible, but at least you get to keep the money."
Yeah, the money.
Jimmy said,
yeah.
"Can you say to the camera how thankful you are that now you can pay back your student loans?" You know how hard it was to do a take of that? They pretend to make it genuine. I don't want to have student loans. I don't want to be in a cage.
Damn.
But Jimmy's the guy with the money, and if you do what he says, he'll do what you want. You want your student loans paid off, you just be in his cage.
He got out of there and ended up having to pay $44,000 in taxes, so in reality, he got $56,000. Some people in the comments of DocPack's video argue that his symptoms show that he has PTSD from this. Maybe.
he does.
All I know is that he couldn't stop crying thinking about it, and that to me is enough. This is literal psychological torture mixed in with war crimes. Jimmy has a lot to answer for. And now, other than Ava Chris Tyson being an absolute disgusting weirdo,
That's
we now
crazy.
know that someone who used to work there as a
That's crazy.
high-ranking manager was on the sex offender registry. The dude even appeared in videos, and for some reason, right, some reason, chose to put on a mask. I wonder why he's trying to hide his identity. His charge is from the state of Delaware. The victim's age is from 1 to 11
1 to
years.
11. So Mr. Beast had a guy working, and he put them in video. He put him in videos, and apparently the guy is a fucking child molester.
old. That is
Fucking
ridiculously young. And his charge is 4th degree sexual intercourse. Victim less than 18 years old. The excuse of, "Oh, I didn't
Pedophile,
know,"
exactly,
doesn't
pedophile.
pass now, Jimmy. This is ridiculous. By the way, you know how Mr. Beast has this philanthropic project called Team Seas where he clears oceans and seas and beaches of trash? Well,
Okay.
it turns out he left heaps of trash during the filming of a video near a body of water.
At the end of that video, he actually says,
Rapist, exactly, bro. To a kid that was
DocPack ended up
less than
emailing the
11
site
years old.
in which Mr. Beast filmed, and they confirmed that he did indeed leave a lot of trash in this area. Interesting. The video
And he
ends
was
with
working
Jake
he was
crying,
being in
but this
fucking
time
videos.
thanking
It's
Dotcat
crazy.
profusely for finally letting him talk about this, something that he's been hiding inside of him for years, not just out of fear of repercussion from Mr. Beast and his company, but also because he doesn't want his friends to lose their jobs. This isn't just some other controversy anymore. People's lives are at stake here. The Beast games right now that are going on with Amazon already are threatening people's very existence, and Jake showed us that this isn't the first time Jimmy has done this. We need
Yeah.
answers, and we need changes now, because this is unacceptable.
So realistically, the whole problem with Mr. Beast is that he does too much, you know. He tries to make the content too crazy, so he doesn't give a fuck about other people's like feelings, right? So it's like, come on, bro. Like, have some empathy, you know. Have some empathy. That's crazy, by the way. Insane.